Hello. Hello and welcome back. This is another Roma Press live stream. We are here tonight right after Roma lose their first match in Serie A since December. The streak is officially over as Roma leave the stadium in Bergamo defeated once again. We haven't found a victory in that damn stadium since 2021. You all remember the game with Jose Mourinho leading Roma to a 4-1 win over Atalanta. Unfortunately, that is in the past. The present is quite different as Roma are once again held back by Gasperini's team in a so very crucial moment of the season, in arguably one of the most painful defeats of the season, given everything that is at stake, given the whole lead up, given the anticipation to this match, given that our opponents for the top four race all drop points. Lazio, Fiorentina, Juve. Roma had the chance of a lifetime, and yet we find ourselves here um, depressed. Depressed because even though we all knew that a victory in Bergamo is very, very difficult to envision, we all held hope following the recent displays that Roma offered to us at San Siro or against Fiorentina. Unfortunately, tonight was not the night for us. So I wanted to welcome everybody. Welcome to our good friends of the live stream of the podcast. We have Dan Vesda, who says heartbroken today feels like a repeat from last time. Jerome as well agrees it's a new year, same story, same Atalanta. Everybody's getting frustrated, Dan Vesda, with Dovbik as well. Hello, Martin. Thank you so much for being here. Someone writes, I didn't even know how to feel. I'm happy we get to be in games that have real stakes attached to them, but I'm frustrated. We continually show up meek in Serie A games we must win. And then we have Salik and Wrench got completely exposed. The duo should never play again. Gasperini proving he'd be a real great coach for Roma. Can't look at the single game, writes Lawrence. Gotta look at the run since Ranieri joined. Hello, darkness, my old friend, writes AP. Hello, good friend. Hello, AP. Vosco, disappointing, but cannot expect Champions League football if you start playing 4 months into the season. We really need to get the right coach and the right players for next season. Well, guys, again, just wanted to welcome everybody slowly in this live stream as we begin to get into the match. Clearly, everybody is feeling the blues. Hello, Mazin. Hello, good friend. We got Vincent also. Hello, Andy. Tight game, but if not, I'm not surprised. Feels like when it's all on the line, we always manage to mess up. Also, the substitutes could have come early. Baldanzi and Elshan, 86th minute. Come on. Yes, I wanted to maybe open this with I don't know if it's a hot take, but I do think that, Claudio Ranieri, as I've said many, many times, is the architect behind our success in recent months. He's the reason why we are where we are in the league. But tonight, a large chunk of this defeat falls on him. No question. No question. With that starting lineup, with the decision to not have any subs come on except for Pizzilli, for Wrench, and then in the final 5 minutes, symbolically throwing Baldanzi Al Sharawi out there. I was not a fan. I don't know what Pizzilli is doing out there at this moment in time. It seems like he's throwing him there, hoping that he'll score a goal. But Pizzilli right now is not good. I don't know why he's getting the minutes that Paredes is not getting. I don't know why he's getting the minutes that Salmakers is not getting. But what I'm seeing from Pizzilli is not what I wish to see from a player at this point in the season, where you have to come up big from the bench. Pizzilli is not doing that. And tonight you pay also for that stupid substitution. Pizzilli gets subbed on, Roma concede a minute later. It's how it goes, guys. Atalanta are always prepared at home. You really have to stun them in order to get a victory. I never felt tonight that Roma had it in them to really turn the tables around, surprise everybody. Even instill a bit of fear in Atalanta. I always felt like Roma were chasing ghosts, and that's something we say far too often when Roma play in that stadium. Atalanta will always make you run lapses, and perhaps the decision to start Wrench was the idea behind that was that Wrench is good at running, he's fast, he can keep up with the opponent. But tonight, both him and Salik, as someone said, Salik with Lukman, who wasn't even supposed to be called up, Lukman all of a sudden is fresh as a rose and absolutely demolished Salik at every chance he got. So, not a good look for Ranieri in a game where he was supposed to get it right. In a game where the team definitely relied on the manager getting the choices right. The decisions that Ranieri made today really made me quite frustrated, because I felt like, especially in the second half, especially after that, you end the first half with Kone, who somehow manages not even to get a shot on goal. You had to attack, you had to put some energy, and instead the choice to withhold the substitutions, the choice to keep the same guys on the pitch, even when it was clear that something was not clicking with that 11, that I cannot understand. I can understand that perhaps the energies are scarce at this end of the season, but if I see that kind of Pizzilli, that version of him out there, then I have to start scratching my head and really questioning what is the real reason why Paredes, Salmakers, for example, are not playing. Why the players who were the supposed backbone of Roma's comeback since Ranieri's appointment, why are they not making an appearance anymore? If Mancini is showing that he's hurt and his muscle is hurting and he's walking in pain and asking for a change, why is Hummels not there? Let's see. A tough loss, but overall a decent game from the team, Nino. Every attack from Atalanta felt like 6 versus 4 or 5-on-3. I agree the substitutions from Ranieri are becoming confusing. Also, Elder should not start. Um, Martin says subbing was absolutely baffling. I feel like they are trying to frustrate some players by sitting them, hoping they will leave, but Salmaker sitting for so long doesn't make sense. It does not. For me, that's like I can understand when it comes to the argument of we play the players that are most informed, but right now the players that are playing, again, like Pizzilli, I'm getting repetitive here, but that substitution really bothered me because it made no sense. Just a lone substitution around the 75th minute or something, and for Wrench, Pizzilli for Wrench, and that's it. When it was the moment was begging for Roma to actually keep on pushing, to build something, to put Atalanta under pressure. That's the one thing that frustrates me the most. I think whenever we go to Bergamo, I never think that Atalanta are taking us seriously. It always feels like Gasperini has a master plan, and he doesn't really feel intimidated at all by what Roma are giving him. So I don't know if that's because of us or if it's because of how good Gasperini has been with Atalanta. But tonight was another case of Roma just coming in there way too shy, way too timid, not really involved, and that's the real shame that I spoke about in the extra reaction episode that I recorded for the patrons, and that you can also access if you become a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press. The thing that really frustrated me about this, that bugs me about this loss, is the fact that Roma went into the game against San Siro, went into the game against Fiorentina, and they got the job done because they believed in what they were there to do. They believed they had a mission. Tonight, I never felt that Roma had that mission. Even when they got their goal with Cristante, something told me that this game, this is not gonna end well for us. It's not. There wasn't that feeling of confidence, and it's a shame because Sule, for example, now there's a player who right now anything he touches turns into gold, and he should be served way more because in Paulo Dybala's absence, it's not Pizzilli who's making the difference. No matter if Pizzilli comes off the bench or not, it's Sule who's making the difference. He needs the ball more often because anything he does right now, it's magic. He makes it work. So regardless of who starts, if it's Shomurodov, if it's Dovbik, whoever, the ball has to go to Sule because he's the one who can make things work on his own. Kind of like Dybala, obviously not on that level, but when we look at his run, his impact on the team, exceptional in recent weeks. Exceptional. Devin Wrench backing off of Lookman to give him a good goal pissed me off. It's like making a mistake on FIFA. Simon, Roma always struggle at Atalanta. Are the players turning up resigned that they're going to get beat? Well, Roma have 3 wins against Atalanta. Wait, no, yes, 3 wins against Atalanta in the last 21 games. The last win was in 2021. Remember when Jose Mourinho was there? And Roma had that goofy shirt on, and Chris Smalling was there, and Tammy Abraham scored, and it was a great win. But that's the last time. That's almost 4 years now. So uh, there's for sure an idea of a team going into the stadium of a club of a team that with Gasperini, no matter who. I mean, tonight they were in a complete defensive emergency. They had nobody there, and yet Roma never made them feel threatened. Now that is not because Roma cannot make an opponent feel threatened, because Roma have scored goals. Roma have won games in recent months by scoring at least one goal in almost in every one of them. Um, so it's not like they can't be threatening. But tonight, it really did feel like Roma just had no real plan on how to hurt Atalanta. And once again, the most painful part about it is that, if this happens in October, it's fine, it's to be expected. But this happens on a Monday, right after Lazio and Juve drop points, right after Fiorentina gets practically kicked out of the Champions League race. um and yet, what do we see? We see a Roma team that, as you say, it comes in resigned, comes in slow, comes in timid. And now we have 2 games left, one against Milan, the last match at home, and one against Torino. And perhaps tonight was the only night and the last chance of us having a say in our fate with what we do on the pitch. For once, we had the opportunity to build our own future, not have to count on the likes of Juve or Lazio to make a false step. It was up to us. Um, every Lazio fan beat themselves over the fact that they got a draw out of that game against Juve, because they said to themselves, well, there it goes. Roma will get access to Champions League. Well, guess what? Atalanta had another thing coming. This is why Allegri terrifies me. And under Allegri, we will not see Baldanzi or Sule. He's allergic to playing anyone young. LB, I don't know if you saw it, but the last report by Gianluca Di Marzio said that Massimiliano Allegri is not among the names that Roma are considering in the lead up to the final appointment of the new coach. So according to Di Marzio, again, let me make that clear, I'm not making it up, I'm not the one saying this. According to Gianluca Di Marzio, Allegri is not an option for Roma. I still think it's important not to lose hope in the last games. Both Lazio and Juve have shown that they are prone to lose to small teams. Vincent, yes, absolutely. Anything can happen. We know this. It's Serie A, especially this year, it's been quite unpredictable. Just look at Fiorentina against Venezia, Eusebio pulling one out of his backside. Um, Unfortunately, what I don't like about the situation is that you're once again at someone else's mercy. I'm tired of this. We've had this situation over and over in recent years, where you've always hoped in someone slipping up, and it doesn't work that way. It's not sustainable. And so that is why tonight everybody here is hurting, because at the end of the day, as Sule said before the match, this is our door to potentially getting a win, and getting closer to the objective that we thought was unthinkable. Um, but as always, there will always be a part of Roma that will revert to its worst tendencies. Exactly. How on earth is Salmakers on the bench in the first place? He's leading in goals and assists, 6 goals, 6 assists, and he's on the bench until the 80th minute. It's puzzling to me. That is puzzling because um, whether a player is in form or not doesn't mean anything, in the sense that it means can he start or not. But if you see that the lineup is not working, which clearly wasn't for Roma today, I mean, as we have all agreed, Wrench and Salik were not exactly providing you with defensive solidity. I mean, Milas VR was once again fantastic. Um, so why persist? Why think that there is nothing that needs to be changed? Perhaps Salmakers wouldn't have solved this match, but he definitely couldn't have done worse than Pizzilli, who's completely a non-factor ever since he renewed his contract. He is on the pitch and he is not a factor for Roma. So why have a non-entity on the pitch? I'd rather have Insulefe in the team than Pizzilli on loan. Yes, Dan Vesda. Let's see what happens with Lefe. Spot on, Andy. Pizzilli coming on felt like an old Mourinho substitution trying to re-energize. Yeah, but re-energize based on what? What has Pizzilli done to deserve this energizer thing of this title of the sixth man? You know, six man. He's not Andre Iguodala. You know, he's not Sean Livingston. Just to mention some of my favorite um, guys off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. Pizzilli has been a non-factor. He was horrible. Also at San Siro, he squanders that chance. He gets reprimanded by Ranieri, who wisely does not punish him. Sure, but when when do we actually start putting on the guys that can give you the security that you need? Why is that when the team was doing so well, Ranieri went out to the media and said, the guys like Paredes, Seimakers, these guys are the backbone of the team. He even mentioned Hummels. Well, guess what? All three guys have barely played in recent months. I don't know. I don't know. And the again, mind you, this frustration was not so evident when Roma were winning. Tonight we lose and it hurts and it all comes spilling out. But that's, I mean, at the end of the day, you lose because of that, because something went wrong. And Ranieri tonight totally misread the situation, throwing in Baldanzi, taking Dovbik off. Even I don't care if Dovbik was bad. You don't take him off in the final 5 minutes of a game where you're going up against a really physical side and you have to score. You don't take him off, especially for someone like Baldanzi, especially for Stefan El Shirawi, who hasn't been seen since Chernobyl blew up in '86. I mean, that's what we're talking about, is getting into these crucial moments of the season and having guys at the ready. Tonight, I did not find the team to be ready to get the 3 points that they claimed they wanted. Is John going to be back for the season summary? Then Vesda, all I know is that John should be back in June. So I'm pretty sure I'll do the season summary by myself. And then hopefully John can come in and we can start previewing the summer and everything else that will go into the preparations for next season. So thank you for sticking with us. You're correct about Atalanta's attitude towards us. It felt like to me, especially ever since Mirante's horror show a few years ago. Yeah, it always feels like they're just toying with us. I don't know if it's also Martin Derun who gets on my nerves or something, with that cocky attitude that he has. But this is a team, Atalanta, who have rarely struggled against us, I would say. If they've ever made a full step, it was out of either fatigue or laziness or just lack of motivation. I never felt like they felt challenged by Roma in recent years. Never. Paredes should have come in the second half, but I guess the club doesn't want him to play. I don't, um, there's this rumor. There's this. We even we put it up on the website because it's there is probably part of it that is true in the sense that there is some money that Roma would have to pay PSG if he completes a certain amount of appearances, blah, blah, blah. I honestly don't think this is the thing that keeps Ranieri from playing him. I refuse to believe that in the moment where Roma are playing for access to the Champions League, which would give you over 60 million euros in revenue, I do not think that a bonus of 2 million for Paredes is what messes up Ranieri's plans for how the team is supposed to actually play. So I think there's definitely some truth in what Roma should be paying PSG, but I do not believe that this is the reason why Paredes is not on the pitch. I just believe that Paredes maybe is not giving Ranieri what he wants in training, blah, blah, blah. He has his hierarchy. He's afraid to mess up the hierarchy right now. Especially, you see that Shomurodov now is a regular starter all of a sudden. Ranieri doesn't want to take him off. So I guess we are seeing that Ranieri trying to consolidate this lineup for the final games, but I would take tonight and as an example of when it does not work. Tonight did not work. This is not a lineup that should be utilized against Milan. There should be some important conclusions drawn from this game. We lose Champions League. It seems that Zviar is going to be cashed out to financial fair play. That first offer of renewal, if true, is shameful. Musab, you're referring to the offer of over around 2 million plus bonuses for a renewal. Listen, that's how negotiations work. If that comes out, it comes out because someone's got to write about something. Negotiations work like that. I can counter Musab with the idea that Zviar's entourage are foolish to keep requesting a release clause, which is foolish. It's a foolish thing to do, both for the player, for Roma. Because there is no future to a release clause. If a player has a release clause, it means he does not want to be where he is. So why put a release clause if you know that you're going to lose him anyway? So it works both ways, but I do believe that at the end of the day, there is going to be an agreement. It's just the typical push and pull in these negotiations. Hey, guys, please give us a like. Yes, give us a like, guys. Tap the like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you want to ring the bell so that you get a notification for whenever I do these live streams after the games, also consider doing that. And if you like what we do at Roma Press, become a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press. I think not being in Europe for a year could serve us well. Kakazin, are you referring to Napoli potentially winning the Scudetto? I don't know. This talking point tires me so much because we always talk about what if, what is, do we qualify for a Conference League? Do we qualify for Europa League? Do we compete for this? Can we just qualify for damn Champions League? It's been 7 years, guys. 7. I mean, we started with John this podcast together in 2018. That was the last time that we featured in the Champions League, guys. We started this podcast and Roma's downfall in the Champions League started. It's unbelievable. We haven't done there since. Ranieri has done amazing, but tonight and against Lazio and Juve, we clearly saw his shortcomings. I don't know if there are shortcomings. I think there is always pressure involved, immense pressure. What Ranieri has been able to do with this kind of pressure, with the kind of pressure that the team has faced game in, game out, it's tough. It's tough. Tonight, I did feel like we lost something. We lost a bit of that juice, a bit of that tenacity, a bit of that determination that made us stand out in recent months. It just felt like Roma were resigned to a certain fate that awaited them at the end of this game. Like, sure, you walk into that stadium against that team, against an Atalanta side that Atalanta are one of the few teams in Italy where when it matters, they come up big. Roma are not one of those teams. That's why we treat events like the win against Inter at San Siro, or even winning against Fiorentina in a do or die game as unbelievable achievements. But the truth is that you go into tonight's game and you're slow and you're unconvincing and you're non-threatening to a team that just toys with you, gets what they want. They qualify for Champions League. They put it in the bag. Another great year for Gasperini. Regardless, he doesn't need to lift a trophy. What he's been doing for 9 years is so unbelievably impressive that it doesn't need introductions. But unfortunately, Roma are always the ones who get him that glory through their pretty bad performances. If we go to Conference League next year, I'll I'll lose it. Well, we tried, Marco. I'm proud of them all. Yes, we have more potential, but that's for another coach to figure out. We're still shy to play possession and attack. Don't know why, Marco. Marco, thank you for being here. Appreciate it, buddy. When we were in the beginning of February, we were talking about every game being a final. We finally lost the game because of last week. We got hope that a lot of people didn't have 2 weeks ago. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always a matter of perspective. I don't think a lot of people believed Roma would be in the position where they are right now. We got our hopes up because we saw our opponents fall over the weekend. We saw our opponents make mistakes, and we thought, let us dream. Let us dream. Let us continue to believe in getting results. Unfortunately, tonight was just not meant to be. It just was not meant to be. And the important thing is that we do not let this affect us for the remaining two games, regardless of what our opponents do. Roma just cannot get it wrong against Milan, against Torino. Something must be figured out in terms of the starting lineup, of the substitutions. We have to find a way to provide Sviar with a bit more solidity, because come on, you cannot, every time you face an opponent that has a semi-presentable attack, you cannot allow Sviar to come away with a man of the match performance. As good as he's been, you cannot base your whole idea of getting a result on the goalkeeper doing 80% of the work. Ranieri never playing Baldanzi is maddening, especially in games like this when it was clear a spark was needed much earlier. Yes and no. On one hand, I do think that, sure, Baldanzi is not getting the playing time he deserves. At the same time, I don't think that this would have changed anything for Roma tonight. I actually do believe that Sandmakers, Paredes, El Sharawi even would have been much more game ready for this kind of match against this kind of opponent. Um, it's. I hope that we'll address that in training, that this will not go unnoticed, because this was not a good game, in the sense that you cannot put all of the weight of this result, say, on the penalty that was called off. Sotsa gives the penalty, VAR takes it off. Ranieri loses it in the after the match, gets booked. The truth of the matter is that we did not play well. We did not play well. We did not do enough to come back to secure a victory. If you lack conviction, guys, unfortunately, you always lose away from home. At least at home, even if you don't have that conviction, you got that spark, you got that push from the fan base, you got the whole stadium rocking in your favor. Tonight, that was not there, and so if you don't have belief, and if you don't have the guys who on the pitch will show that, because Pizzilli right now is not a player who's confident. So let me just make that clear for Ranieri. I get it that you're trying to instill confidence in this young kid who is mistake prone, and it's normal, sure, but these are crucial games. There's a bunch of other guys on the bench who are way more ready than him to go out there and actually contribute. Actually contribute. Because with Lorenzo Pellegrini out, now you got another position to address. You have another player that is absent together with Dybala, and you have other options that are supposed to be there and are supposed to replace them adequately. What Pizzilli is doing is not adequate. When we were in Europa League and rotating players, that's when we saw more success and better performances from everyone. Once we went to the league only, Claudio stopped rotating. And you know what, Martin? I can understand that. Again, I can understand consistency. I can understand wanting to see the same lineup time in, time out, because you want to have a sense of hierarchy within the team. That's why we saw Shomurodov slowly find his way into the lineup because Ranieri saw, oh, okay, this guy clicks with Dovbyk. Dovbyk plays better. He is there. He provides the team with a bit more depth, sure. Um, but it also has some drawbacks, and we saw exactly like the fact that you are playing against Atalanta, and it's the 85th minute, and you have only put on one sub, a sub that has been inconsistent. Where is everybody else? Who is ready? Who's ready to go? Who's ready to fight against this kind of opponent? And the answer, yes, absolutely, because you have not rotated enough in recent months. The answer is you don't really know who can give you minutes, because what is Stefan El Shaarawy going to do in 5 minutes of playing time at the ripe age of 32? The team is not compatible with characteristics of important players. They give their best, but hopefully next season we will have more identity, better chemistry. Sure, and but I do think that there is a lot of quality on this team. It's just so many times it's been a question of how are you utilizing them, and I thought Claudio Ranieri had it figured out, but as someone here mentioned, it's a matter of consistency, of rotations, of giving confidence. Ranieri has been working on that, but sometimes you can't leave out others, and Salmakers, for example, that's a player that went through a spell of 3 consecutive months where he was lights out, and now he goes through a spell of 2 months where he's barely in the lineup. So what can a guy like that give you? You know, of all the positives of Ranieri's, his flaws have always been there. He overthinks. He can be stubborn towards Italian youth. Sometimes that seems to be ingrained in all the pre-90s coaches. Become a patron if possible, says Nino. Absolutely. Thank you, Nino. Gotta support Andy while he has one hand on the wheel and the other on the website. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Nino. Yes, if you want to support this ship, as I try to steer it by myself, you can go to patreon.com/Roma Press, and there's a lot of discounts involved. The link is also in the description box below. Thoughts on the penalty? The penalty was not a foul, says Jerome. As much as every single one of us hoped for it, Kone ran towards the leg, started falling before the knee hit him. I don't even know if we're talking about the penalty or what the rules are for VAR's intervention versus the decision made by the referee right after such an episode. I do think that Sotsa tonight was quite horrible. I don't know why Kone is now the one player that can get fouled countless times, and is nobody ever gets booked for fouling Kone. It seems like Kone is a punching bag. I don't know if it's because of the guy's physicality and the sort of the assumption that, oh, he can take it, but Kone tonight was getting fouled left and right, and nobody was getting booked for that. So no, Sotsa was not good. Sotsa was not good, and there is always this sort of this inconsistency in decisions and how the VAR is used, and the power of the referee on the pitch versus the power of VAR. When are we out of the woods with the financial fair play stuff? Well, Lawrence, we have signed a settlement agreement until 2027, so that's more or less when the financial fair play is part of the whole damn puzzle. 2027. So still some time, and who knows what next, because that's the always the question with UEFA. Are we out of the woods yet? Claudio Ranieri said it in his pre-match press conference that, listen, it's going to be at least 2 transfer windows of suffering, though he immediately said this, however, does not seem to influence the next head coach. This does not seem to influence the way potential candidates perceive Roma as their next destination. I agree, Andy, says Martin. Also, why Wrench looked so shaky for a while, hasn't been playing. Wrench has been very good, in my opinion, since he arrived. I'm one of the people who is actually very optimistic about the signing. But today, both him and Salik felt completely unprepared to face guys like Lukman. I don't know what it is about Lukman, but he instills fear in basically every Serie A fullback. Selic, Wrench, they were no exception. Atalanta is Roma's kryptonite. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Gasperini, when he says we know them well, which is what he said before the game, he's not lying. He knows us. He knows exactly what we're gonna do. Um, Never have I felt like we threatened Gasperini's plan. I never thought that, perhaps with the exception of one of the games that we played against them with De Rossi, I never felt that we put Atalanta in any kind of sort of trouble in recent years. It's quite disappointing when you have such an opponent where you know that you're not gonna instill any kind of fear or worry, and they're just gonna go through it smooth sailing, no problem. That's really bothers me. Hi Andy, I'm devastated tonight but very thankful to Mr. Ranieri. Thank you, Fuad, for tuning in. Why did we sign the financial fair play bullcrap? Well, because otherwise you get fined. It's fortunately how it works. Hoping we get rid of Ghisolfi then Vesda. No, come on, man. You're 17 years old. Please don't start getting on that train of thought of yes or no, black and white. Try to try to be more of a gray sort of person. Ghisolfi has nothing to do with the Roma's financial fair play situation. This settlement agreement has been signed a long time ago. Um, so why spend 100 mil plus if financial fair play was going to be an issue? Ghisolfi can pick great players with 100. He's not the right type of guy for financial fair play. We don't have one free transfer for this summer. Guys, let's not start worrying about transfers. I didn't want to drag this conversation in. I didn't want to be part of this. We still have 2 games to play for this season. Anything transfer related, we'll deal with that later on. Let's focus on what's there, and what's there is the pitch. What's there is Roma still having a chance to qualify for Champions League. Obviously they're in a position where they have to also depend on the ineptitude of the other teams involved in this Champions League race, but please, let's keep our focus on what is right now the most important thing, which is what the team is actually doing on the pitch. So the settlement agreement was signed a long time ago. Ghisolfi inherits a situation that is not his, the same way as Thiago Pinto inherits a situation that is not his. Every sporting director gets time to develop his strategy, his network. That's what Roma are doing. Give people time. Even Ranieri asked for it. He said, "Give us some faith, give us some credibility. Everybody's gonna make mistakes, but you gotta keep that, okay?" So that's how it's gonna go. And for now, I just wanted to start to round this up into a coherent segment so that we can start thinking also about the game against Milan and the game against Torino, the game against Milan, which will be the last game that Ranieri plays at the Olimpico. Dan Friedkin is supposed to be in the audience. He's supposed to be in the stands to witness Claudio Ranieri's last time at the Olimpico before he retires. Dan Friedkin arrived in the capital on Friday and attended Roma's training session. There is a whole bunch of matters that he is there to supervise, including the appointment of the new coach, which I do not believe Roma will announce before the end of the season. There is just no point in doing that, as well as the appointment of the new CEO. And then there is a whole bunch of crap related to the stadium, which is not in a good place. I can tell you that right now. Lookman brings athleticism from the Premier League that is lacking Serie A. Lookman in my from my memory was the fool in the Premier League. Remember that penalty when Claudio Ranieri was at Fulham, I believe, and Lookman took that penalty. He was a shell of a player. Since then, he's been nominated for the Ballon d'Or. It's unbelievable. It's partially why McTominay is the best player in the league currently. It's different compared with players with Leao and Orsolini. Absolutely, I agree with you, Nino. This result isn't much different from than a tie. We were always going to need Juve to drop points if we weren't going to win today. We win 1-0. We weren't making up the goal differential. Giovanni bringing some seriousness to the conversation. Thank you, Giovanni. No, it's I mean, it's true. Listen, you're always begging for a miracle in these situations. You're always begging for the opponents to drop points, but tonight you had perhaps the one golden opportunity of actually having a say in your own fate. We'll beat Milan. Juve and Lazio will drop points, and almost as written by the goals themselves, Torino will beat us as an honor to Juric. Thank you, Billy. Grazie per tutto, Andy, soprattutto Forza Roma. Yes, Nino, thank you so much for the support. Guys, it's another long day here, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for sticking with me during this live stream. Hopefully, the next time out when we are here after Roma play Milan next week, the circumstances will be more favorable to us. We will all be feeling more cheerful. In the meantime, if you could support us, go to patreon.com/Roma Press to become a patron. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to John. Thank you all for your support. Until next time, Forza Roma. Ciao.